They had no concept of property. Corrupted by European ideals, Africans would become slaves. They kidnapped other tribes, sold them to European traders who would take these commodities across the Atlantic and into the New World, and profited. Their labor is utilized at will by their masters. Their masters coerced them, plain and simple. They were born from Africa's soil and were taken by the same family.
No rights, just obligations. Enslaved Africans only knew these two rules since Islam's invasion around 700 CE.
Before learning Islamic priorities, the tribes of East Africa were very easygoing. They would share the land with one another if one needed more land. This concept is hard to grasp for us, especially in our advanced modern world. What the Africans experienced before our presence was truly liberty in its fullest. Yet it was because of this that the Africans were so easily corrupted in the 17th century.
The impact of the Atlantic slave trade was profound on the continent's tribes and often unclear history. The Europeans asserted their desire for exporting slaves mostly on the west coast of Africa, an area unaffected by Islam's invasion of East Africa in the 8th century. What the Europeans found was a land ripe with cheap slaves.
What you really must know is that the Africans were not all related. It's disappointing to know that people today still believe Africa as one big nation, one big happy family. It is very opposite. Instead, tribes would often kidnap their rivals and then sell them to the Europeans, receiving the white folks' peculiar jewelry, liquor, and other goods. When the Europeans arrived, they faced the unfamiliar terrain of Africa. So how were they supposed to capture and enslave the natives? They persuaded the closest people to traverse the jungle and enslave their enemies, and, upon their return, they would receive these gifts.
From the 17th century's beginning to the 19th century's end, the Guinea coast was riddled with Europeans and Africans trading slaves. Sierra Leone was known for its prosperous slave trading posts. But how could a coastal country provide more than 4.5 million slaves? Tribes were targeted and then taken. Enslavement raids would begin to occur all over Africa.
The main source for slaves was West and Central Africa. The Congo and the Mabundi lands were particular hotspots. In total, probably more than 3,300,000 Africans were enslaved in just 200 years. The dissipation of the Congo Kingdom, Portugal's expansion into Africa's interior, and warlords dictating the divided Congo. The warlords were probably well-regarded men of the Congolese, Portuguese officials, or in Bengala chiefs, and ultimately ensured the rapid escalation of enslavement.
In the warlords' midst was the Oyo Empire of Africa's west coast. Located in southern Nigeria, the kingdom was established and operated by the native Yoruba tribe. They were definitely the largest and dominant power in African slave exportation. The empire assisted in the exportation of 1.5 million slaves out of West Africa's total slave exportation, 4,192,000 people. The Oyos would sell to the Europeans their criminals and prisoners into slavery and would gain their profit. However, by 1800, the Oyo Empire dismantled and faltered. But recognize that the Europeans did not single-handedly enslave the Africans. It was literally every tribe for themselves in this era.
Of course, slavery came to an end. In the 80 years that followed the Oyo's downfall, America, the largest buyer of slaves, would undergo a civil war primarily over the controversy of slavery and would ultimately condemn the trade, deconstructing the southern states' economy and reforming the United States. This marked the beginning of slavery's end worldwide.
Now, in our second decade of the 21st century, slavery is a concept that is very much extinct. In the United States specifically, a 2009 survey states that there are around 38.1 million African Americans residing in the U.S. Tracing ancestry, the U.S.'s black community extends all the way back to Africa. Whether their ancestors were kidnapped and enslaved by surrounding tribes is unclear. But what is apparent is the inexistence of slavery today and the overall unoppressed lives of African descendants. All rights, no obligations.